Hi everyone. Purpose of this video is to introduce myself. Is that my name is Jean-Louis Delhomme. Everyone knows me as JD. I'm ex-military, served in the Marines, and as well I'm a train engineer, work on the railway. And the purpose of this video is basically is to let you know that we're talking about domestic violence, and the message is it doesn't just happen to women; it happens to men. And I was involved in a volatile relationship over 20 years ago in domestic violence where I was on the receiving end. Because I was brought up as a man never to hit women, but my ex partner at the time used to hit me, and for a while I used to be ashamed about it, but not anymore. It doesn't mean that I'm a wimp, because like I said, I'm ex-military in the Marines. I do know how to handle myself. I've done martial art loads of time. It's just that I don't believe in hitting women. So it does happen to men, but it's hard for men to come out because of the stigma, feeling that you're a wimp because if a woman beats you up. So I'm hoping by doing this interview and this video that is to make a change. Thank you.
Yeah, so as I was saying, no woman can really speak in terms of how a man sees it, feels it, experiences it, or deals with it. And I'm really, really, really excited and humbled that you have agreed to come out of your comfort zone and represent, basically, because that is actually an initiation.
Yeah.
But for certain, there are a lot of men out there who are going to hear you and relate.
Yeah.
As women, we can, the, lately, there's women who are actually, like me saying, we talk about men as if we know them, but we don't really know them because we never really create that ground to have an open conversation about roles between men and women. And so most of what we say about men is what we've heard. And we've heard it from other women. And I'm always thinking, why do we do that?
Yeah. But I believe, you know what they say, um, men and women we're the same, but we're not the same. We don't think the same.
Yeah,
There's a back in the days there was this book, and I think there was a lot of truth called Men Are From Venus, Women Are From Mars. I
yeah,
don't know if you ever read that book, and I think there's a lot of truth. We don't emotionally, um, logically, and everything. We don't think the same. We don't see things in the same aspect.
yeah. I used to believe that we are all the same. And half the time I felt like I was banging my head on the wall when I said something and it didn't make as much sense to a man as it did to a woman. And I'd be thinking, but I said this very same way. Why can't he get it? We are not the same.
I mean, from a man's point of view, how could I? You know, say, oh, I mean, I've been the person I'm with now, my wife now, for 20 years.
Hmm.
Now, and it's you know they say, oh, um, you got to try and understand your woman, understand. But I think it's easier to accept the person that you're with than rather understand, because certain things you would never understand. I would never know what it's like to give birth. I would never know what it's like to have that pain. I could appreciate it, I could
Mm-hmm.
imagine it, but I would never
Mm-hmm.
know. So we can't think the same. We
Yeah,
can't.
yeah,
Our pain threshold is not the same.
yeah.
So biologically, we're not the same.
Mm-hmm.
We're equals in so many ways, but in other ways we're not.
Yeah.
It's
And
to accept, just to accept the way that person is, and you deal with it accordingly.
I think the key that you've just said there is acceptance. That is
Yeah.
very key to anything being successful. We can't try and force ourselves into slots that we don't fit in. We will just end up breaking each other. And this is why I'm really happy that we're having this conversation today. It's supposed to be an interview, but I think the way we're going to go about it is you express yourself. I'll ask a few questions that maybe it can channel what you say, but I would appreciate it hearing it from the horse's mouth. Some of the questions that we ask might actually end up narrowing you into certain corners. So I'm only going to ask a few basic questions and you can tell me as much as you're comfortable telling me, because I think this is groundbreaking and it shouldn't really be the only conversation we have. I'm hoping we have more conversations so that people can open up to the idea.
Okay,
Yeah.
go for it.
I'm gonna start, and as I said, I'm going to record this, and you're happy with it being shared. And my first question is, please, could you just give me a background of who you are?
Right. My name is Jean-Louis Delon. I'm ex-military. I was in the forces in 1990, was in the Marines. And when I came out, I trained as an engineer, worked as on lorries as a mechanic, and now I work on the railway. A couple of years ago, I had suffered with PTSD, mental health issues.
Mm-hmm.
I was severely overweight. I had type 2 diabetes, high cholesterol, and my life was going to pots for I had serious mental issues. But I changed my life around. On top of my day job, I became a personal trainer last year. I'm doing a lot of work to do with the Samaritan and trying to give back to the community. And basically, all I'm trying to do now is trying to give back as a personal trainer, as a sideline, as a business, but the mental health side of it. My mission in life is not to say I want to live forever, but if I could leave a legacy when I leave this planet, that's my aim. If I could change one person's life, then that makes me happy, and that's my aim in life now.
And that's how I know you actually. Somebody who is making a difference in people's lives. Honestly, even myself, the days that I got to follow you on Facebook, I was going through a lot. And listening to you, reading the messages that you pass on Facebook, every time I felt like I can't do this, that really just picked me up.
That means a lot, and that's why I do this. This is exactly why I do this.
Yeah, so when you talk about one person, if you're going to leave a legacy of one person, I'm the one person. So I guess we're saying there's more than that. There's more than just one person. Yeah, and I would never have imagined that you went through things that you've just said now, and even more in terms of domestic violence. So my next question really would be, where did the domestic violence fit into you being in the army, you being an engineer, and then giving back to communities?
Well, I've got it was one of my relationships that I was in. This is over 20 years.
Breaking.
This is I was in a relationship. I met someone, and like you do, you get on well, you fall in love. But sometimes this was a relationship that was a bit of it happened really, really fast. Didn't really got to get to know this person properly. You sort of followed your heart rather than your head in that situation.
Yeah.
And basically, by the time I really got to know this person, learned about a history, which I'm not justifying what she did, because no excuse when it comes to violence. There is no excuse.
Yeah,
you can't just justify it. And it's the case again. It goes back to try if you try to understand something. It doesn't work. Rather to accept it, it's easier because then you see easy. Like again, as a man, I'm an engineer. I'm a person. If I work with structure, if it's black and white, this is how it is. This goes there, that goes there, and you put it together and it works. If I try to understand it, my brain doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
Now, this lady I was with, she was in a relate as a child. Her father was abusive. Her father used to abusive to her mother, violent and everything. So she grew up in that. Now, this person that I was with, when she wasn't drinking, but at the time I didn't know that, she was a beautiful soul, happy-go-lucky, and I fell for that. But then when I got to know that the other side of her, I was already too deep into the relationship. She had the alcohol. When she started drinking, she was like a different person, Jekyll and Hyde sort of scenario. I think this is probably the first time I've actually shared this story, and I've told anyone about this because for men, I understand women go through domestic violence. I understand that, and like I said, no, nothing justify violence, nothing to justify. But again, it's like I said, from a man's point of view, we come from a different perspective.
Yeah.
You would see my size, ex-military, was in the army. I could look after myself. I could handle myself. I would gladly, and have done, if I see a guy hitting a woman, I would gladly knock him out because it's wrong. I've been brought up old school that you do not hit a woman. I've been brought up, and I think it takes two type of men in this world. Some guys have got it in them to hit a woman, and some guys I just can't. And this person knew that I couldn't, and she used it against me. And then to go around when it got physical, with blood getting drawn out, I got knifed, I got bottled, but I didn't retaliate because it's the way I've been brought up. Now to go and tell my mates that works in the railway, or I did my missus or wife or whatever, just speak me up. It's a stigma. It's a shame. It's really shameful because all the guys go, well, what couldn't you should have just give her a slap. Well, how could you take that and everything? So it's a lot harder from a bloke's point of view to admit that a woman beat you up. That's basically it. It's just that stigma.
I think a lot of us do not really understand about standards, about boundaries, and this morning I shared on my platform, my Facebook page, that domestic violence can happen to anyone, and it doesn't happen because you're weak. Sometimes it happens because there is people who take advantage of your standards, of your morals, of your values, basically. Like you're saying that she knew you would never hit her back, and so she took advantage of that. So domestic violence does not necessarily happen because the victim is weak. Sometimes it's just about somebody taking advantage of your stance as a disciplined man, as a man who respects women, as a man who respects his strength, as a nurturing attribute rather than as a brutish attribute. And this is something that I've only learned recently in having conversations with people about domestic violence. You said something interesting. You said by the time you realized who this woman was, you were already in too deep. When you think back now, do you still believe that there is such a thing as being in too deep to get out of a toxic situation? Or would you, if it was now, would you have handled it differently?
Well, if I look back on it, I wouldn't have got involved at all because it was something I would stay away from it. But at the time, I I I ended up I ended up having a child with her.
Right.
So it's not something I could easily walk away from. And I had feelings for her, and that as well I couldn't walk away from. And I guess I felt, when you do love somebody, you feel, well, you know what, maybe my love is strong enough to change that person. And that's what I was trying to do, to take her out of the dark place that she's been in, what she's gone through, what she's happened. I always felt that I could change that person to be better. I could stick it out. But in a sense, I couldn't. And then I guess in life, you got to try. And I think that's a message for anybody that goes through domestic violence or anything. You got to give it your all. You got to give it your best. But then you got to realize it's not a failure to give up. It's like you got to know your limitation.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can take a horse to the well, but you can't make the horse drink.
Definitely.
Changes that can only happen from within. You could only want the change. If you want to change, it has to happen. You want to do it for yourself. You can't change a person when they're not ready. And I always felt that, I'm going to change this woman for the better. I'll change things, but it never happened. Now, but I stuck it out of love and out of commitment as well. But it came to a point. No, I can't do this anymore. I just can't do this, because, like I said, every time when it came to the violence, it erupted. And the only way I could get out from not, and don't get me wrong, I'm no saint. There was many times I was that close to hitting her back, but I know if I hit her back, the situation would have been a lot worse. I would have got a lot more trouble. I would have hurt her a lot more than what she hurt me. And the only thing I kept doing is walking out. I kept walking out, run out the house so I wouldn't hurt her. And that's all I could do. There's 2 incidents where she came after me with a knife. And because I do martial art, I remember self-defense, throwing her on the floor, but even grabbing hold of her that she wouldn't hurt herself, but to stop her from, she even caught me. So, yeah, it stopped me. But I self-defense, and I let her go, put it on the floor, and I ran out of the house. There was another time she had me, had me against the door. She wouldn't let me go. And I remember turning around and me hitting the door, and my hand went through the door. And that's the only way. Then she stopped hitting me, and I had to run out the door. And there was kids around at the time, and it wasn't fair for them.
Yeah.
This wasn't for life. And I was still young then. I was still in my 20s. And like I said, I just came out of the army. And there's many minutes I know for a fact, as a man, I could have finished it. I could have I could have retaliated, and it would have been done. But I just do not have it in me to hit her. I couldn't do it. So I ended up taking the brunt. And when I took the brunt badly. And the thing is, what people don't realize from a man's point of view is that you got women's refuge, you got all these helps for women charities. There's nothing out there for men. And when a man talks about being hit by a woman, people tend to laugh at it. They joke about it. It's funny and everything. It's a different thing. So this is why it's harder for a man to come out and admit what they've gone through. So I'm hoping, by me coming out the shell, out the closet, like they say, that maybe it'll encourage other guys, maybe it might make a change to have help for men as well. This happens to men as well. It's not, in this day and age, it's not just women that happens to.
This is my prayer that, hearing it from the host's mouth. As you know, we're having an event on the 31st about domestic violence from a different perspective than normal events happen. This is going to be all about individuals telling their own stories, their own ways, unedited, undiluted. And I think it's something that is really needed. And if I may say, maybe from, how do I put this? From a Black and ethnic minority basis, it's groundbreaking. I have researched and I've seen not a lot, but a few white men who share their stories. but I've seen almost next to no Black and ethnic minority men telling their story. And yet, I think it actually happens more in terms of men, really, not comparing women, but in terms of men, I think it happens more with our group of people. And
I sorry to cut you. I think that's probably because more of culture than anything else.
yeah.
Because from an ethnic black men, we're more
Mhm.
thing more so attitude is because you're. How could you take that crap? I wouldn't take that. I would just give her a slap, slap her. That's the attitude that you give. You say that to one of your friend of mine. My woman hit me. First, so for what didn't you give her a slap? I could like that. That's the attitude. But this is why to when you go to feel well, you feel well. Is it a sign of weakness because you can't defend yourself? But it's not because I couldn't defend myself. I choose not to hit her back. I just chose not to hit her back.
I had a few conversations with a few men, black men, behind the scenes. They don't want to come out in the open as yet, but a few of them actually said to me that they join in, like when as friends, as men, you share that my woman is doing this. Maybe they see a mark or a scar and you say, oh, my wife did this to me, or my girlfriend did this to me. And these guys said, I'll be the first one to say, oh, they've just knocked her dead and blah, 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 blah. And meanwhile, this guy is actually having the same experience at home. So it's
Yeah,
like he's acting like it would never happen to her so that the attention does not go towards him. I mean, he's saying it could never happen to me because I would beat her up. But he's saying that so that nobody would suspect that he's actually going through the same thing,
yeah,
which I found quite interesting.
yeah,
That it's that bad that people will go to any length to hide it. And I think it's sad
yeah,
because there is no problem that can be solved until you acknowledge it.
yeah. And I think from this day, it's probably. I'm not saying that it's easier for women when it happens to them, but at least they've got an outlet. At least they've got places to go. They've got places where they could get help. Men don't have that. We try to go to a police station, even the police station, we get laughed at. So where do we go?
There's some women who hate me. If there's anything I'm proud of as a person, is I'm able to be neutral. And I always talk about, when I talk about domestic violence, I always remember there's men involved as well. And I'm always also talking about something that I've noticed here with women in the diaspora that's from the African background, that they actually are here and taking advantage of the way the law works, knowing fully well that if I said a man is abusing me, I'm highly more likely to be believed than a man saying Farisai is abusing me. So if it was me and I beat you up, and then you say I've been beaten up, they laugh at you. And I can, in the next 5 minutes, go to the same policeman or to the same place where you reported and say, actually, he beat me up. They're highly likely going to believe me than believe you. And
Exactly.
I think it's sad because people need to be neutral and evaluate situations individually, judge in, like in terms of just women and just men.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. I think it should be a situation where what wrong is wrong.
yeah,
It doesn't matter where it
doesn't
comes
matter
from.
who's doing it. Exactly. Wrong is wrong.
Yeah,
People easily make excuses for women. It's like, um, I remember myself personally when I was full of anger because I mean, as you know, I've suffered domestic violence as well as a young person. But from then, I went through a very long angry phase where I even used to pick fights, get into a relationship, and I'd pick fights because I was full of anger. And I always got away with it because I'm a woman and I knew it. And I mean, it's not something that I'm proud to be saying, but that is what used to happen. And yet, and when I look back, I was just a damaged human being, and I was lashing out at the world, basically. But it's not an excuse. What I've learned now is if you're struggling with something, you're better off seeking help rather than thinking you can solve all your problems yourself, because you end up just hurting yourself, hurting your children, and hurting the men that are supposed to be loving you.
I totally agree with that, and this is why I am doing what I do. Um, and I think creating a community will support. I think someone's gonna. This is, I guess, this is why I'm starting. I'm hoping by me coming out like this, I could be the starting block of something happening with more guys doing it.
Definitely,
And I think, yeah, so it could be the start. And I think
definitely.
this is the only reason why I'm doing it. This is actually pretty hard. Of everything I have
I
done,
know,
this is
I
probably
know.
one of the hardest things I've had to do, because obviously it's feeling, am I weak? Am I not? But no, I'm trying to fit. No, I'm trying to get. I think in life, for every negative there is negative. You got to make something negative into a positive. So
Exactly.
this,
I've
so out of it,
I've I've seen you. I've seen the proceeds of you turning a negative into a positive. Trust me, I've seen it from so many angles. You know, when you told me, I like, okay, I have a confession. When I first started following you on Facebook, I used to get touched by your words, and but I used as a woman who's been abused by a man and was kind of getting help at that point. I used to wonder, is he genuinely saying this, or is he just saying this so that I soften up to him and then pounce? Because you kind of subconsciously start judging men as men together, not as individuals. So the first few months, I used to hear all these nice things, and sometimes I'd say to myself, I wish he was genuinely meaning this. And now that I have actually got over my own barriers and my own insecurities with the help that I've received, I can actually see you for who you truly are. And you saying turning a negative into a positive, I can fully see it now. And trust me, a few months ago, I wouldn't have been doing this interview with you because I would have been very uncomfortable.
thank you. That means a lot. And I believe in life. I believe there is a lot of negativity in the world, and
Mm,
I do believe social media and Facebook and everything like that, you can meet a lot of weirdos, but
yeah,
I think you just got to focus on what you believe in your heart is right. You
yeah,
got to
yeah,
listen. Same way what you did, listen to your conscience. It's very good to listen to your conscience.
yeah,
Do your research, but there is a lot of positivity that comes out of Facebook or social media.
yeah,
Because like, look at the community we created, the group that we created. You
yeah.
meet some beautiful, positive people, and I believe if you bring the right people in your life,
Hmm.
as truly friends, down pure friendship, down to brotherhood, sisterhood, that thing would help you grow.
Yeah, it
Bring
will.
positivity. You grow with that. You grow, and this is what I'm trying to create. And I feel from my experience, for what you're doing, what we're all doing as a community, even in the group, of what you're doing,
Yeah,
it's all about changing people's life. I think there's too much negativity in the world. There's too much. I think love is the best thing in life, but love
yeah,
it in its
yeah.
purity, love and friendship. And like I said, I've been through a lot. I've been
Mm.
through hell. I've seen a lot of stuff that most people probably have
Wouldn't.
things standing up on their hairs on their, the hair standing up on their neck.
On
What
their
I
neck,
say.
yeah.
But I'm trying to change it round. I'm trying to change it round, and I feel through friendship and support, no man's an island. We need other people to grow.
Definitely, definitely. I think, like you're saying, that love is a beautiful thing. I always feel that it's quite sad that some people get to live their whole life never having experienced what love feels like. And I'm 48. I just turned 48 2 weeks ago. And there was a point, I think around 2017, when I was thinking, I actually could die and not really know what love is all about. I've lived since I was 16, driven by the demons of what happened to me when I was 16. And I was thinking, my God, look at how old I'm getting. And really, was I put on this earth to live life without knowing love? And I think that's when I started playing around with the idea of coming out with it, because I became so obsessed with hiding it that I would have done anything to hide it. And it was hard work. And it brings me to my next question. How did you manage to get yourself out of it?
Well, for me, I don't know if we're allowed to say this on this forum. For me, it's my faith. I became a born again Christian. That's how I found it,
Wow.
and it's through my
Wow.
faith, my prayer and everything. That's how I got out. This is, I said, I was type 2 diabetes, I was high cholesterol and everything, and through my belief, through my prayer, through the scriptures, I changed things around. This is why
Wow.
I became a personal trainer, lost weight, and everything. And this is me giving back my conscience. I believe my conscience is the Holy Spirit, so I listen to that now.
Yeah.
But I guess for other people, if you don't believe in God, whether you're Muslim or Hindu and everything, I feel you need to be connected in your spiritual self. You need to meditate. You need to go within yourself. You need to look at yourself from an outside in. Sometimes it's easier when you look. I remember when I got to my darkest moment in my life. How am I going to change this? And I think the best thing you got to do is like, it's almost as like you take yourself an out of body experience where you
Yeah.
look at yourself
Yeah.
and you look at yourself and you're genuine and honest about your life. Criticize yourself. Is this what you really want? What would you say to yourself?
I'm laughing because 2017 I was in a car accident. I drove into a wall somehow. I was very messed up. Then I was working nonstop to get away from my demons. And I was so tired that I drove into a wall. And I remember you saying you kind of come out of your bodily self and have this spiritual encounter. And when I was going into the wall, it must have been seconds really, but I saw a slideshow of my life. And like you're saying, question yourself. And I actually was saying to myself, so really, if I die today, who do I blame?
Yeah.
When I did survive, I had to start with me. If you remember, I was saying I was doubting you before when you were being kind to me and, saying the nice things to me. And I was thinking, is this guy real? The day it dawned on me that you actually are genuine, I said, God, why was I putting him in this box? Because he obviously doesn't fit in there. And I had this, you've just said conscience is your Holy Spirit. That's quite powerful to me because I thought my conscience were talking to me. But now that you've said it, that was God answering this question because I particularly asked him. And he was like, well, you were not ready. It wasn't really about him. It was about you. I was not ready to accept that any man can be a good man.
Mm.
this is how down I had gone, that I actually believed no man was a good man, which is very strange because I have a son who is now a grown man, and I'm really grateful that I've got over that, because I'm sure that probably would have spiraled into how I look at him, which is it's a scary thought. My next question is, would you say the after effects of your experience with domestic violence has contributed more to you being the positive person that you are, or are you naturally just a positive person?
I wouldn't say. I mean, like I said, I think in life when you go through stages. I mean, if I look at myself when I was in my 20s, before I joined the army, I was with Jack the Lad, always got into trouble, anything. But I guess I always knew right from wrong. There was a
Right.
certain standard how I was brought up. I mean, but you go through experience. But I feel I've learned through life. Like I said, I guess every time you get knocked down, every time life pulls you down, there's obstacles that pulls you down. You have two choices. So you either go against the wall, defeat, let it get you down, and just wither away, just die, just think, or you fight back.
Yeah.
And you got to learn from your lessons. You
Yeah.
will make mistakes. No one's perfect. No one's thing, but you got to learn from your own experience. And you know something I said yesterday, I put up a message about if anybody that knows me, what am I most obsessed with? And someone
Oh
said,
yeah, I saw it.
yeah, and someone said yourself. And initially, I actually thought, you know what, that's a bit offensive. But I said no. But at the end of the day, I think what I've learned of my experiences and everything I've gone through is that is learning your self-worth.
Yeah.
Right? Because before I used to hate myself, before I didn't used to like myself.
Yeah.
So, and before, when you don't like yourself, you don't hate yourself, you can't help anybody else.
Yeah.
You can't give what you don't have. You can't give love if you don't have love within you. I can't give you an apple if I haven't got an apple.
Yeah.
So all that love has got to be, you got to love yourself first. You got to know yourself first. You got to know that you've come from the gutter, you've hit rock bottom, you've built yourself back up, and then you feel proud of yourself.
Yeah.
I got these.
There's nothing wrong with you feeling proud of yourself.
I got these to feel good about myself, but now because I've got where I am, then I said, well, you know what? Because I've got all this love, I've got all this thing. Let me share it out. Let me give it out to other people. But it has to start from within.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I think that's another area where humanity has lost that wisdom that you can't give what you don't have. And because people rarely reflect or retrospect, you don't actually get to realize that when you're lashing out, it's because that's what's within you. And when you're loving, it's because that's what's with you. Last year I went through like maybe more than half a year talking about self-love, and like that comment that you talked about, saying you're obsessed with yourself. Some people started saying that, oh, you're self-obsessed and blah blah blah. And my response was like, yeah, I'm unapologetically being self-obsessed. I've lived more than half my life hating myself. Now that I know how to love myself, I'm gonna put it out there because I want people to catch on to it.
Yeah.
Even if I can't give it to the whole world, putting it out there, having people see it, might encourage people to emulate it. And, like half the people that were saying I'm self-obsessing back then, I've become quite close with them now, and I've seen changes in them as well. And this is what I'm passionate about. I really would like, if not everybody, as many people as possible to know what love feels like.
Yeah.
And
even in the Bible, I mean, Christ said, love your neighbor as you love yourself.
Exactly.
You have to love yourself first.
It
You know,
sounds complicated, but it's that easy.
it is. So you can't give. So I've to answer your question. If I look back, how would you, if this was going to happen again through violence? I feel if I had that self-love,
Yeah.
I would have done things differently.
Yeah. True.
Because at the end of the day, I would have had respect enough for myself to protect myself, but still willing to find help for this my ex in a proper channel. But I think at the end of the day in life, you have to come first because you can't help out. You know, charity begins at home. You have to help yourself first before you could go and help other people.
Okay. My last question is this. What do you think of people saying, I'm staying in a toxic, abusive marriage or relationship for the sake of my children?
Again, that goes back to self-love, isn't it? Self-respect, because like I said, when I was in that relationship, it was children around us.
Mm.
I mean, you're not helping them when they're seeing that.
Yeah.
You're passing on the legacy. They're growing up with that. They think that's normal. You're not helping that. Okay. So I feel when you start loving yourself, knowing your self-respect,
Mm.
then I think a lot of. I mean, I'm assuming
Mm.
when you hear stories of domestic violence of women that happening to women is when they realize their self-worth.
Yeah.
This is when they find the strength to fight back.
Yeah.
Again, because it starts from within.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it starts from once they find out from within, they fight back, then they're doing it for their children as well.
Yeah.
So everything you do,
That's
whether you're smoking, giving up smoking, we all know what smoking does to us. You know, we all know it kills us, but until you decide, you know, you're doing it for yourself, you can't do it for your kids, your mother, your sister, your wife, you got to do it for you. It all starts from within. And I think this is the message, what I'm trying to portray to everyone. And everything I do is to teach, show self-love. Everything else, that's your foundation. Then you can build on that.
Amazing. And if you had one big message that you would want to leave to the men out there, what would it be? And one message to the women out there, what would it be?
I think to men, you got to be honest and true to yourself and listen to your conscience. Yeah, it's like, you know, the conscience is being, listen to your conscience. If it's, and you got to know right from wrong. Okay?
Yeah.
There's no shame in admitting that if you've got standards and morals and you can't hit women, there's no shame in saying that a woman, you say, you're a human being. And I think if we want to talk about equality, it's treating each other as human beings.
Yeah.
Treat other people as you want to treat yourself. Exactly. As you want them to treat you. Simple rules. You treat someone as you want them to treat you back. That's a simple rule from a man. And women, again, it's self-love, it's self-respect. No man has the right to put your hands on you. No right. No man has the right. I've got a sister. Anybody touch my sister, then I would protect her. No one. I wouldn't do anything. Anybody that I care about that's female, I would defend them to the hill. Yeah. Right? And I would say to women out there that you got to know your self-worth, have self-love, and you're better than that. If a man will put their hand on you, they'll do it once, they'll do it again. Just walk away. It's not worth it.
Yeah, definitely. Just picking on what you've just said, if they do it once, they'll do it again. I had a lot of apologies, you know, like, oh, I don't know what came over me. Oh, I will never, ever, ever, ever do it again. And like you said before, you think you can help this person. And I didn't realize that sometimes helping a person means stepping back. And so I used to take the apologies and think, oh, maybe if I start talking this way, if I start walking this way, dressing this way, you know, like cooking this way, and, you know, that kind of thing, then maybe I'm helping him not to do it again because at least he has promised not to do it again. And then no matter how hard you try, he would just do it again. And there was always an excuse. And there was a point when, you know, I had to say, you know what, I'm better than this.
To me,
way more than that.
to me, guys would always say that hits women or the same thing. I've done it for even with my experience. I love you. I didn't mean to do that, but that's not true love.
Yeah.
True love, when you love something, you cherish it, you take care of it, you make sure that it doesn't get harmed, you make sure nobody hurts it. So how could you hurt somebody, physically hurt somebody, and say you love them? That's not love. That is just not love.
The day I decided to leave a toxic relationship, I gave an example. I said, you know how you love your car? Have you ever driven it into the wall and then said to it, I'm so sorry, I don't know what came over me. I'm never going to drive you into the wall again. Have you ever done that? You fuel it, you service it, you clean it, you wash it, you're nurturing something you love. Why then is it you easily abuse me and then say, oh, I don't know what came over me? You know, abusing me breaks me the same way driving your car into a wall would break your car, and you don't do it because you don't want your car broken, and yet you claim to love me and still do things that break me. How does that add up?
The thing is, a lot of I think a lot of people, and this is where a lot of people that are violent, and I think they're the one that needs the help.
Yeah.
They need the help, but as a victim, is learning not to become a victim. Again, it goes back to loving yourself. It's like learning to finding that strength to have enough self-worth, and then once you're strong enough, then just pray that they get the help that they need. That's all you can do.
Yeah. I would say if you want to help them, actually remove that value of yourself from them.
Yeah.
And if they actually know what value is, they'll sort themselves out. If they don't, they're lost. Your value is worth a way lot more for somebody who appreciates it than you placing it where it's going to be abused.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you so much for taking this time, for coming out of your comfort zone. I think I'll thank you on behalf of all men out there. When they see you, when they listen to you, even if they never come to you and actually own up and said, you hit the nail there. I've had conversations with men who are going through this. I know they are going to appreciate you clearing the air, especially in terms of people stopping this belief that a man taking abuse is a weakness. To me, it's actually a strength that's being abused. Thank you, and I appreciate that. And hopefully, this is only the beginning of setting this platform of, safe conversations that help people move forward.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
You too, and keep up the good work.
Oh, thank you. You too. Take care.
All right.
Bye. Well, everybody, you heard it from the horse's mouth. You have had a men's perspective of domestic violence, and I can safely say he speaks for so many men who haven't reached where he is as yet, who haven't found their voice yet. And I'm hoping that this will trigger something in men's conscience to reflect, evaluate, retrospect, and decide to harness the value in themselves that makes it worth it to speak up, to report, and to have the situation resolved. A man tolerating abuse from a woman is not that he is weak. It's actually because he has been raised well enough to know that his strength and a woman's strength can never be the same. And if he wants to fight back, he can actually knock you flat. And to women, I say, I hope what our brother has shared will have you thinking from a different angle. I'm hoping that your mindset is being transformed following watching this video. Thank you very much and have a good evening. Bye-bye.